In this video I'm going to give you some apple storage tips. Picking apples for storage is one of my favourite things to do, but there are a few tips and tricks along the way to make sure you get the longest possible storage out of them. So first thing is to make sure they are ripe. You want to be picking them, they want to be coming off the tree nice and easy. You probably see some on the floor already dropped. They're also inside, if you cut them open, you want to see brown pips inside there. You'll know they're ripe then and ready to pick. So another thing is the right variety of apple. This is a Scotch Bridget, which is one of my best keepers. It keeps until June some years if the conditions are right, and it's kind of been selected for that purpose. So it's a good cooker before Christmas, and then after Christmas it's a really nice eater, kind of shrivels up a little bit and goes really tasty. What this means is that some apples just don't store. So if you've got your kind of early apples, your Worcesters, your Discoveries, there's lots of different early ones that just won't keep at all, so you're better off preserving them if you've got a glut. And there's some of the later ones won't keep either, better off the tree. So look at what you're going to store and make sure it's the right variety for that. Okay, so when you're looking at your fruit to store, you want to be selecting through and picking out your best fruit for long-term storage. It really wants to be as perfect as possible. It wants to have no imperfections from kind of any insect attack or bird bites, or it doesn't want to be a windfall either. Those apples can be used in other ways, so use them for preserving, dehydrating, cut out the bad, cider or canning, but don't use them just for your storage. They want to be absolutely perfect if possible. The fruit wants then to be stored in somewhere that's kind of cool, ideally frost-free, and wants to have a decent airflow around the fruits. You can see in my trays they're actually quite tight to start with, and that's to get as much fruit as possible. If I had more space, I'd probably spread them out a bit more, but what I'll tend to do now is go through these racks early on and take a few from each one and try and spread the apples out a little bit. If they're not touching, they're less likely to go bad, or if they go bad, it's less likely to spread. If they're not touching, you can get one apple just go bad and not touch the others. You know, the phrase "one bad apple spoils the batch" is very true. And so yeah, you want to make sure you've got as much airflow around them as possible, somewhere cool and frost-free. Where I store them, I've got them in this shed and in a shipping container in two lots of racks like this. And some years they'll store better than others. It depends on the weather conditions a little bit. So if it's a milder winter, they might not store quite so well. Same if it's a really cold winter, they might not store quite so well, depending on how warm I can keep the areas where they're stored to try and keep them above freezing. The regular inspection is really crucial as well, especially if your apples are quite tightly packed in. I'll be going and having a look, pull the drawers open, have a look through your apples, make sure there's no bad ones that are going to spoil the others. I quite often hear, and I used to do it as well, wrap your apples in newspaper, but what that does do is it prevents you seeing if your apple's still alright or not. We used to do them in big baskets and wrap every other apple in newspaper to try and make them store a bit longer, and it used to work really well, especially with the right variety of apple. But regular inspection is probably the best way to be able to easily keep your fruit longer. Okay, if you've liked this little video on apple storage tips, then give me a thumbs up and leave a comment below on how you store your apples. I'd love to hear from you, and thanks for watching.